Grow a legacy for men. What you know, it matters more than you think. How to start when you've got no excuses left. Keep it simple. Keep it real. And most importantly, keep it going. You don't need to start a program. You don't need a title. You don't need permission. And you definitely don't need to be impressive. You don't need a room full of people. You don't need a curriculum. You don't need to have your whole life figured out. You need 3 things, and you probably already have them. You need 1 skill, not something fancy, something real, something you learned because you had to. Maybe it's basic auto care, how to check the oil or change a tire. Notice when something's wrong. Maybe it's carpentry. We all remember that measure twice and fixing instead of discarding. We learn patience through hands. What about cooking real food? Not surviving on junk food or takeout, but feeding the body with intention, preparing something healthy. How about budgeting? Living within your limits. Ooh. Without panicking. Without shame. How about gardening? Tending to something that doesn't rush and doesn't lie. Problem solving. Staying with frustration long enough to understand. And work ethic. Showing up even when it's boring and finishing even when it's hard. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just needs to be honest. Second thing you need, 1 young man. You don't need to go looking far, trust me. He's probably in your immediate vicinity, lurking nearby. Could be a son who needs direction more than lectures. A grandson who needs patience more than correction. You have time. Give. A neighbor kid who's never watched a man work at something without getting angry. Or what about that young man at church who's drifting? Just doesn't know how to say it. You don't have to rescue him. You don't have to diagnose him. You don't have to fix his future. Nope. You just have to let him see what it looks like to be a man standing when no one's watching. The last thing you need, 1 hour. That's it. Not intense, not heroic, not life-altering, not in a single afternoon. No. Just consistent. An hour where you show up when you said you would. Which means showing them what it's like to be early. Maybe stay late if you have to. You work alongside of them. instead of doing it for him or performing for him. And then, if you can't figure it out, you let silence teach where words aren't needed. You don't rush the process, and you don't fill the gaps with noise or fluff. That's how seeds grow, quietly, repeatedly, without fanfare. You don't need to motivate, you don't need to impress, you just need to be there. So, the hard truth, this is the hard truth. Older men, if you don't pass it on, what will young men receive? What they see on TV, on the internet, the examples around them. Young men don't just lose skills, they lose their identity. And when identity collapses, we all know everything else follows. Confusion turns into anger. Anger turns into withdrawal or destruction. And eventually, someone else steps in to shape what needed to be formed in the home, in the community, and in relationships. You don't have to fix the world. You don't have to reverse a generation. You just have to plant where you stand. That's enough. That's how repair actually begins. Quiet, close, hand to hand.